Hello, I'm James Barth from Rock Hard 4x4, and I want to talk to you about our bumper and tire carrier system for your Ford Bronco. This bumper and tire carrier system is extremely well built. It's built here in the United States, right here in Nebraska, in our own manufacturing facility. Now, we've been building bumper and tire carrier units for around 30 years right now in the Jeep industry, and we've went ahead and moved into the Ford Bronco as it's a great platform to work off of. The bumpers are made here in the States along with all the other components that we manufacture. These bumpers are made of 1/4-inch steel when we're dealing with the swings. They have an 1 3/8 post as far as for the swing arm itself to swing arm, along with tapered roller bearings top and bottom. This unit is very adjustable with the ability to raise the tire or lower it up to 3 inches. That comes with the ability to add a high lift jack if you want to. It has a positive stop to keep it from swinging further out, along with a drop down pin that keeps it from swinging back inward when it's open. This is a fully serviceable hub with tapered roller bearings top and bottom with shims on the bottom and extras on the top. That way you can set the height, so no matter what you put on this bumper and tire carrier, it always opens and closes the same. This is a very simple unit to open and close. I'll demonstrate here for you. To release the drop down pin, you just pull up on it, and to close it, you're going to close it with a little bit of force. That makes it an extremely solid unit. It squishes into rubber down below and up above. That helps eliminate any vibrations or any noises that you might get from your tire carrier. This bumper and tire carrier utilizes your factory camera, your factory light mount. It does come with the ability to use your factory lighting for your license plate, along with all the sensors. So you got the backup sensors, which are an important part of your safety aspect of your Bronco. We utilize all that. It does come with the sensor holders, which are now different to work in an aftermarket thicker bumper than your factory one. It does have 1-inch D-rings. What I mean by that is it has the D-rings here going through the bumper itself. These are made of 1-inch material, so that means that you will actually use a 3/4-inch clevis to attach to it. I'll show you how easy it is to open this. It can be opened with a 1-finger opening. So you're literally going to go down here to the handle, lift it up, and swing it open. With the Rock Hard 4x4 bumper, we did not disturb the factory receiver and or your electrical. This bumper carrier is designed to utilize your factory carrier, so it can be set up to where you have 3 different height options to install it at. So it can be set to where it's at the same exact height as your factory one, or you can go ahead and raise it up 2 inches. So we utilize a rubber here on the top, which is going to go up against the door stamp that we put on. This door stamp has a Rock Hard 4x4 logo in it. It's designed to cover the louvers just to make a cleaner installation, but also it spreads the load out. So our rubber here, where the rubber squishes into the metal plate here, what you want to do is you want it so that it's set up so it has about 1/8 of an inch of pressure against it. So as you can see when we close it here, if you look in here, this rubber is against this plate. That's what we want. We want it to be squishing into here about 1/8 of an inch. If the body is mounted slightly forward on your Bronco during the install, you will put a washer behind this rubber here to bring it closer. Now that we've went over the key features of the Rock Hard 4x4 Ford Bronco rear bumper and tire carrier, let's go ahead and show you how to install it. We're going to go ahead and start with the removal of the spare to install the rear bumper. We're going to go ahead and start with a 19mm socket and remove the factory spare. Now we're going to go ahead and raise the bumper and remove the 2 bolts on each side that hold the tow hooks. Now to remove the rear bumper, there's going to be a bolt right here on the inside here that takes a 13mm socket or an end wrench to remove. And then we'll also use an 18mm socket to remove the tow hooks on each side. We're going to go ahead and remove the tow hooks on each side and remove this bolt here. Go ahead and repeat the process of removing all 3 bolts on each side. Okay, we're going to go ahead and remove this push plug that holds the electrical for the sensors away so we can get in here to remove the clip. Once you've done that, go ahead and remove the electrical clip. Now, same as the passenger side, there's electrical on the driver's side also. Go ahead and push in on the clip and remove the wiring. Now we're going to go ahead and remove the bumper off the Bronco, set it on a table so that we can remove the electrical from the inside of it. Now, before you remove the sensors and the electrical out of your bumper, I recommend that you go through and mark the sensors in a 1, 2, 3, 4 sequence, and also mark what is top and what is bottom. Now, some people say it doesn't matter with the sensor. We here at Rock Hard 4x4 would rather make sure that we do the installation correct. So we're going to mark with a number 1 on this sensor here, as this is on our driver's side. And we're also going to put an arrow going towards the top so that we know which way it goes. We're going to continue that on with the 4 sensors that are in the bumper before we remove them. Okay, now, because Rock Hard 4x4, we supply you with a sensor holder, you don't have to reuse these. So simply pull the plastic away from the sensor, push from the outside of the bumper going inward. That'll allow the sensor to come out of the holder. Now, you're going to go ahead and repeat the process for the 4 sensors, and then go ahead and pull the electrical out of the main frame of the bumper. Now that you've went ahead and removed your sensors out of the holders and the wire clips, go ahead and take a 13mm socket and remove these plates, which will allow you to easy access the wiring. Now, this is the electrical for the license plate. You're going to push in on this portion of the clip and remove it. The license plate light will be removed by pushing in on these clips on the ends and remove it to the outside. We will be reinstalling your license plate light into the Rock Hard 4x4 bumper. Now that we've went ahead and removed the sensors and the electrical for them, we want to make sure that we keep them on the same side of the vehicle, or remember which one you noted as 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, on the Ford Bronco, there's a couple different styles, or I should say diameters, of these rubber gaskets that go around here. Included in your kit, if yours are too big, are these black ones that just go right on here. Go ahead and change them out if needed, because this is going to change. You want it so that it goes down in the sensor holder, so that when you pop this sensor in from the back, that it fits tightly in there. I want you to go ahead and locate the bag of sensor holders and clips. Now, there's 2 different thicknesses of clips, one that works with thinner bumpers, one that works with our thicker bumper that we've produced. You're going to use the thinner of the clips that are in the bag. So this is how you put the sensor holder on. The sensor holder is going to go through the outside of the bumper, and then you're going to clip it in place on the inside. This particular clip here, once the holder is in place, slides through and clips in place. That holds it in the bumper. We'll show you this because this goes on the inside. So what you want to do is you want to figure out how the sensor holder goes so that it puts the sensor in the correct orientation, put it through the bumper, hold it in place, go on the back side, go ahead and put the clip on and install it. That'll hold the sensor holder in place. Go ahead and take your sensor, make sure it's oriented correctly, and pop it in place. Go ahead and repeat the process in all 4 locations. Now we're going to go ahead and install the license plate light. This is going to go in from the side. You'll push it in place, and then you'll spread the clips on the back side. Now we've went ahead and installed the sensors in the back of the bumper and the electrical. We're going to go ahead and install this hard plastic block. Now, that's going to be done with the 2 bolts that have a shouldered head on them and the 2 1/4-inch lock nuts. The taper of the hard plastic block goes towards the back of the vehicle. Going to go ahead and put the bolts through. You're going to go ahead and put it here, and you're going to go ahead and install the nuts on the back side. You will tighten this down using a 3/8 socket and a 7/16 wrench on the back side. Now that we've went ahead and installed the hard plastic block and all of our electrical, we're now ready to set this bumper on the end of your frame. Now we're going to go ahead and reinstall the factory tow hooks if you want to. These are going to use the factory hardware, go through the tow hook, through the bumper, and into the frame on each side. Repeat the process for the passenger side. Now find the 1/2-inch by 5-inch bolts with the supplied washers. These are going to go through the cross member and up into the bottom of the bumper, into those bungs that are welded into the bottom of our Rock Hard 4x4 bumper. Go ahead and thread those up in there now. Now you'll use a 3/4 inch wrench on each of these to tighten them down, and an 18 millimeter on each one of these. Now that we've went ahead and installed the lower section of the bumper on the frame, we're going to add this extra bolt right here through the body mount. Now it's kind of hard to get in here, but it's easily done. You're going to bring the bolt from the bottom, hold the nut up there in place, and go ahead and start it. This is a 1/2 inch bolt. You will use 2 3/4 to tighten it in place. We're going to go ahead and reconnect the electrical on both sides. Next portion of the install is going to be to remove the factory tire carrier off the back of the Bronco so that we can install this into our swing. We're going to start off by using a 13 millimeter socket and remove the 8 bolts that hold it in place. Once you've removed it, we're going to go ahead and unclip the wiring out of the back. First of all, you're going to open your tailgate and remove your inner panel. Now I showed it here so you can see that the clips go down the inner side. So when you pull it off, you want to pull the inner side off. That'll make it come off. Now once you've removed that, you'll see 2 plug-ins here. Now to remove the electrical for your light, there's a push area right on the plug-in on the forward side here on the bottom. You're going to go ahead and push that and remove this one. On the actual camera, you're going to push it right here and remove it. Then you will go ahead and push in the plastic on this white plug going through your tailgate so that we can remove it. Now we will go ahead and install our sensor extension cables. We're going to reuse this plastic piece, so go ahead and remove the plastic piece from the inside of the rubber. Now, this is the rubber that goes through the tailgate. When you're doing our bumper and tire carrier with a swing, you're going to use this from your factory wiring. Go ahead and clip the zip tie that's on here. Okay, when you pull that off, that'll allow that to come loose. Next, you're going to go ahead and take the tape that is on here off. Okay, worst part is finding the end of the tape. Basically, we're just removing this rubber from the factory area and installing it onto the rock hard 4x4 extension. Once we've taken the tape off, we'll go ahead and slice it here. That'll allow it to become big enough to go around our ends. We'll do the same on the inside here. And then when we're finished, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and re-wrap this with tape along with putting a zip tie on it. Now that we've taken the plastic out of the factory one, we're going to go ahead and install the wires through the back of your tailgate and push this in place until it clips in. Now we're going to go ahead and reinstall the camera and the electrical for your tail light. Once this is installed, we'll go ahead and reinstall the factory cover onto the tailgate. Now we're going to go ahead and install the tailgate vent cover. Now this also works as not only just the vent cover to make it cleaner looking at the back, but it also works with our stubber, which you'll see a little bit later on in the installation. Go ahead and bring this up in place, reinstall the factory bolts that you took out to hold this onto the rear tailgate. On the lower 2 bolts, you're going to go ahead and install these wire holders with the bolts. This will hold the electrical in place. Now we're going to go ahead and start with the installation of the swing. Now, part of the components on the swing need to be assembled. First of all, you're going to locate the smaller rubber along with the bolt and the nut. That's going to go on this piece right here. You're going to go ahead and install the nut through the bolt. It's a 5/16 bolt and nut. You're going to go ahead and tighten it down using a 1/2 inch or 13 millimeter socket and wrench. The rubber goes on the forward side of the swing, so therefore it would make contact with the bumper or the area that is machined out. Now we're going to go ahead and install the latch. This latch has got a handle that we're going to install first, and then we'll show you where this block goes. It's threaded along with these 3 bolts. This is going to go in the end of the swing arm. First of all, we're going to go ahead and install the handle onto the latch. When installing the handle, you're going to install the handle on this upper side like this. Your bolts are going to go from this way through along with the nuts, okay, so that they don't catch on the inside of the tube with the handle on this side. Then you're going to take a 5/32 Allen and a 7/16 wrench and tighten it up. Now you want to locate the nut plate and the latch and the 3 bolts. You'll notice that the nut plate is drilled and tapped, so you want to make sure that this lines up with the bolts in the pattern. And how this is going to work is this is going to slide on the bottom side with the nut plate here on the inside. Then you're going to go ahead and put the bolts in place through the latch, through the tube, and into the nut plate. Now that we went ahead and got all 3 of the bolts started, we're going to go ahead and tighten them. Now, one thing to keep in mind is you don't want to over tighten these, as you don't want to squish this latch together. This is done with a 1/2 inch or a 13mm wrench. Now we're going to go ahead and proceed with the installation of the striker and the striker nut in the bumper. Now, this striker, we're going to leave it loose at this point in time in the installation, but when it is time to go ahead and tighten it, you'll tighten it with a T50 Torx. Now, you'll see that this is slotted a little bit, so that way we'll adjust it once we get the swing installed. This is our swing post. Now, this swing post is really cool of how it's designed. When you get your kit, you're going to find you'll have 2 larger spacers and some smaller shims. The extra shims are going to go on the top once we have our install done. What you're going to do is you're going to start off normally with around 3 shims of here for the spacers. This is going to set your height of your swing, okay? And so what we want is when we put these spacers in, one's going to go on the bottom, and that will go around where the grease seal goes, and the other one will go around the top. Then we will put the nut on and go ahead and tighten it down. When we swing the swing over, we're going to look at the height of the swing relative to this hard plastic block. And what we're going to look for is, without a tire on there, we're going to look for it to be just a smidget above the block, so that when the tire is on it, it catches the block about right in this area right here, so that when you're going down the road, the weight of the swing is resting on that hard block. So now we're going to go ahead and bring the swing over in place, drop it on down here, put the upper spacer in, the extra shims, and the nut, and see where we're at for our height. Now we have our spacer on the bottom along with our shims to set our height relative to what we're going to start with. Then you're going to take the upper spacer, push it in place, and then we'll go ahead and put the extra shim we have along with our top nut. Now we're going to put a crescent wrench on here and just slightly snug this up. Now go ahead and locate the end cap for the swing arm. This will have the slot in it for the handle of this latch. Go ahead and bring this over to the swing arm, put it in place, and you're going to give it a tap. Okay. Now that we've installed the end cap and our latch, you're going to talk a little bit about the latch itself and the striker. What we're going to do is we're going to leave the striker just slightly loose, and we're going to close the actual latch. That'll center our striker. Then we're going to loosen it very carefully, and we're going to use a T50 Torx and go ahead and tighten that down. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the height adjustment. Now the height adjustment is taken care of by the amount of shims on the lower side of the swing arm and or on the top. The extras go on the top. So what we want to do is, because on this particular install, not only are we going to be putting the bumper, the tire carrier, and our can mounts and racks, so what we've done is we've left about 1/8 of an inch gap between the hard plastic block and the bottom of the swing arm here. That way, with the weight and everything like that, it equals out to be about a perfect install. At this moment, we're a little high, but that's because we're adding all the accessories. If you're just doing your bumper and the tire, you're going to end up with about a 1/16 of an inch above the hard plastic block without the tire. So our next step here on this install is we're going to install the factory tire carrier onto our mount. If you'll notice on the back side of your factory tire carrier mount, you have alignment pins. These alignment pins are designed to go in these 3 holes. So you actually have 3 inches adjustment of it going up and down to set the height of your tire mount itself. If you want it lower so that you get more clearance out of your rear window, or if you want it up for a larger tire and have extra clearance, it doesn't matter. It's up to you as a customer. We've designed it so that you have 3 inches of adjustment. Once you have the tire carrier in place of where you want it, go ahead and install the bolts through the front with the washer, lock washer, and nuts on the back side. There's going to be 8 of these that hold it in place. Once you have that in place, we'll go ahead and tighten those down. We're going to go ahead and tighten these down using a 5/8 N wrench on the front side and a 11/16 on here on the nut side. Now bring the electrical from your factory tire carrier and go ahead and plug it into the rock hard 4x4 supplied electrical connections. Then you'll pick the extra connections and put them inside. We will attach these going down the swing arm here in a few minutes. I want to talk a little bit about this rubber bumper here that we put here. This rubber bumper helps keep the top of your tire carrier from vibrating going down the road. That can be tightened by putting washers behind it or even shaving it down if it's too thick. The reason we put this on here is to protect the tailgate. This has got a slight bend in it also to match up to the bend of your tailgate. This is made of 1/4 inch material where the stubber goes. So what you want to do is you want to line up where the stubber is to the top section of this plate and mark it here on the A-frame. Then we're going to go ahead and use a self-tapping screw to attach this rubber to the A-frame. What you're going to do is you're going to use this self-tapping screw and this rubber and go ahead and go into the A-frame with this. Now, one thing to keep in mind is the socket will get really tight here, so go ahead and put some oil or some WD-40 on here so that the socket doesn't bind inside the rubber. So right now we're using a self-tapping screw with the provided electrical connection holders to hold the wiring along the swing arm. We're going to go ahead and attach it here, here, and right up to here. This will allow the wire to follow up the A-arm so that it swings with the swing. The extra amount of wiring can either be zip tied or looped inside the factory original tire carrier as here, or back in the door of the Bronco. Now in your hardware kit, there's 2 Phillips screws. These are 1/4 20 screws. They go in through the bumper into the weld nuts. This will hold your license plate install. The other thing is you want to put this grease circuit that's in your hardware kit in the hub here. Now, once you've got everything set really well and everything tightened up, you're going to go ahead and pump this full of grease. What we want to do is we want to fill this full of grease just so you get grease right out of the bottom seal a little bit. This will allow the hub to fill completely full of grease, which keeps any moisture or water out of it. Just so you know, the bearings do come with a lifetime guarantee, but if you ever need them, they're available on our website or you can call us directly. But the biggest thing is if you keep it full of grease the first time, you pretty much won't have any troubles.